Welcome to We Are the Hunt Sketchbook. Join me as I create and develop the world of the hunt, one drawing and one video at a time. In a rare turn of events on this channel, we are actually drawing men. It might be unusual to hear because most of you know me as the guy who likes drawing girls 90% of the time, but I do actually like drawing guys. Well, more like the guys that I do draw, I give them a little extra attention because I know how uncommon they are. The guys in my cast have a bit more to prove, in a sense, because they'll be occupying a space in the cast normally reserved for a cute girl. But anyway, moving on, this first male I'm drawing is Fleet Admiral Thra. Well, I don't know if it's completely an admiral yet, maybe a general or some other leader, but his name is Thra because I like the name. This marks him as the first We Are the Hunt character with an official name right off the bat. He has a lot to do with the main cities in the setting, so I will most likely be reusing the idea of floating cities again from Remnants, but since I can completely change the lore surrounding what used to be the Four Kingdoms from RWBY, I've been brainstorming a lot of these changes in the background, which I'll talk about once it's a bit more concrete. A small aside, a prominent theme that emerged back when I worked on RWBY Remnants, and one I felt RWBY definitely could have explored, was the idea of survival versus living. In an apocalyptic world as brutal as Remnant, with all the grim and whatnot, was it enough to just survive another day? Or was it equally important to live a fulfilling life, even if it was more dangerous or more difficult to do so? With RWBY's emphasis on colors, individuality, and art, it was the perfect kind of visual story to explore these themes. The Grim were like a dark blot of ink, slowly covering the entire storybook that was Remnant in the same infinite darkness, where no stories of hope, tragedy, or joy could ever emerge, be told, or be experienced again. The characters who hunt the Grim then were not just the last flickers of life in the world, they were the few remaining splashes of color in the darkness. In Admiral Thrain's case, I'm a big Ironwood fan. Of course, if we're talking RWBY canon, Ironwood has a lot of baggage, so I just wanted to take the core idea of a veteran commander type character, a hardened leader with an empathetic heart. Ironwood was always a very compelling character to me, besides his design and voice acting, which I always liked. His position in Remnant's world was very unique. In my headcanon for Remnants, where Atlas was meant to be a militaristic, harsh place whose way of life revolved entirely around the war against the Grim, Ironwood was the rare bleeding heart in its leadership, who struggled to balance his duties to the Atlas war machine with his duties to the greater well-being of his people. This position would have made him something of an underdog in Atlas's leadership, where his way of thinking regularly conflicts with Atlas's brutal way of life. In Ironwood's case, having had most of his body destroyed and replaced with cybernetics, he knew the pain and struggle of loss intimately and wanted to alleviate that suffering in his soldiers and subordinates wherever he could, such as manufacturing robot soldiers and mechs to contribute to the war against the Grim all the same, while keeping more human lives away from combat. I hope to also explore some of these similar themes with Thrain here, so I look forward to it. But the next character I'm drawing now is what I'm planning to be the protagonist's mentor figure. I'm just calling him Unk for now. You can never go wrong with a badass cool mentor guy in a shonen action setting. I'm taking influence from characters like Crow Branwen from RWBY, but also Sid from Final Fantasy XVI. His design is based on young Crow Branwen from my Remnants AU. I always like the spiky ponytail, so I'm using it in the base design for this character. As for the actual relation between him and the protagonist girl, I'll slowly work that out over time. Working on this should be a substantial relief though compared to Remnants, because a major headache working on Remnants was trying to untangle the mess that was Ruby and Yang's family tree. A lot of different relationships were mixed between Summer Rose, Crow, Raven, and Taiyang, and a lot of strange or very vague discrepancies in the timeline of that relationship web that makes working on anything to do with Team Stark the equivalent of treading narrative quicksand. Whatever the relationship this mentor guy has with the protagonist, I'll be glad to make it a bit more straightforward and easy to understand on my end. But other than that, not much yet to share about him. It's just a cool design for now. So here are the two DILFs of We Are the Hunt, which also marks the first official look at the veteran hunters in the project. Since we're racking up quite a few characters by this point, I made a handy character lineup screen here to track our cast thus far, which I will put at the end of each video. I've separated the characters into two sections here: red for students or hunters in training, and silver for veteran hunters. I'll of course update this screen with their latest designs and eventual names for each character with each new Sketchbook video update. So that will hopefully be quite helpful for you viewers, because each video is kind of jumping in between different characters at once. So that'll be all for this We Are the Hunt Sketchbook video. Thank you for watching, and as always, see you next time.